everyone, and welcome to Positive by Design. Good people talking about real shit and easy to implement success methods. Hosted by Social Jane Media, brought to you by yours truly, Sarah Glenn. I am the creator and CEO of Social Jane Media, a certified social media marketing expert and the branding specialist that many entrepreneurs turn to. If you're looking for inspiration from other entrepreneurs and high-vibing humans, you're in the right place. So settle in, get comfy, and let's get started. In today's episode, we're talking with Sydney Crowe. Sydney is a mindset mastery coach balancing the lives of busy mompreneurs. She has built 5 different streams of income, spoken on stages, and shifted her life from surviving to thriving, all while raising a neurodivergent daughter. In the last year, her and her family have traveled to 4 countries and 18 cities, exploring the world and working from anywhere. Sydney, please share a little about yourself and how you got into entrepreneurship.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I am a mom of 2 girls. My oldest, as you mentioned, is neurodivergent. My girls are almost 8 and 10. We live in the Rocky Mountains up in Canada. It's beautiful. We love adventuring and having all the mountains have to offer. So we're hiking, we're skiing lots. And yeah, I've been married to my husband now for going on 13 years. We've been together for half my life. So we've really grown up together and built this vision and this life of being able to travel the world with our kids and work from anywhere. And, you know, we're well on our way in that mission. And so through that, I have decided that I have found a passion for helping other mompreneurs along the way. So a little bit of backstory on myself. When I found coaching and entrepreneurship, it wasn't something that I was really actively looking for at that point. Growing up, I was always told I could be, do, and have anything that I wanted. And somewhere along the way, that vision of everything kind of fell wayside, and I lost myself along the way. And I was introduced to a coaching community and personal development, I want to say almost 3 years ago now. And that completely transformed my life. But I'll be honest, when that opportunity presented itself to me, I just kind of thought I would have it on in the background. I'd continue watching my show, and everything about that Zoom, I was like, nope, turn the TV off. Just caught completely enthralled in the energy and the community. And now I have a passion for paying that forward for other mompreneurs.
I love that so much. And, you know, I resonate a lot with what you were just sharing, because I was the same way when it came to entrepreneurship. It sort of just came out of nowhere for me. I was not seeking it. I feel like I arrived in it by accident. But the moment I started to recognize the possibilities of the self-development, of how you can help other people find those aha moments and those moments of clarity, I was hooked. Like, I could not get enough of the trainings, of the stories. And so I dove headfirst and was just like, I need more of this in my life, because I was at a point in my life where I was struggling. And I think for a really long time, I was seeking something, but I didn't know what that something was. And entrepreneurship was absolutely the vehicle that has allowed me to explore all these different parts of myself that I just didn't really know were lying dormant and just ready to come out, you know?
100%. I resonate with that. It's such an amazing transformation when that fire gets relit inside of you, and when you can pay it forward and watch it get reignited in somebody else that you're help coaching or you're in collaboration with, and you see those fires just kind of popping off. It is, I don't know if there's a better feeling out there.
Agree. Yeah. I know. And in a way, it almost feels a little bit selfish, because I'm just crave more and more of those moments where I see somebody else just light up and figure that out for themselves and find that moment of clarity. But then you really have to think about it. Like, you're truly helping someone find themselves. And yeah, I mean, that feeling of wanting to do it more and more, it can feel a little selfish, but in a really good way. And I think we do actually have to kind of disconnect what is selfless and what is selfish. Like, doing something for yourself is hugely important. And especially if by result, you end up bettering somebody else's life and helping them level up and find purpose. Like, come on, right?
100%. Yes. And I just want to further that, like in the terms of like motherhood, where I'm paving this way and showing my kids that I can put myself first and pave this way, that it is not selfish for me to fill my cup first so that I can pour into theirs and pour into my husband and everybody else around me, my clients, my friends, my family. You know, we can't pour from an empty cup. And there is a reason why when we're on an airline, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on first before helping others. And that really has just become a slogan or a motto that I tend to live by, because I had gotten to a point in motherhood where I just didn't even know what I wanted anymore. Like from the outside, my life looked really great. I had the house, I had the kids, I had the car, I had the husband, I had checked all the boxes. I had done everything that everybody had told me to do, like go to school, get a good job, do the things. And I just felt like every day I got up and I was like, here we go again. It's Groundhog Day. Like it just wasn't fulfilling. And I felt so guilty, like the amount of guilt and shame that I felt around not feeling happy and fulfilled in the life that just looked so great from all the checked boxes. It was really hard to handle until I was, like I said, introduced to this one coaching community. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want that energy. What? You can put yourself first. And all of these things just started to fall into place for me when I really started to do that inner work and figure out what I wanted and what was going to fill my cup and how I could pay it forward, and then spill that over into my kids. And so it's been a really beautiful journey and transformation over the last 3 years. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to show them at such a young age how to put themselves first and that it's not a selfish thing to do.
100%. I actually just, and this is a message that I don't have any kids, but I feel very connected to mothers. And I don't know if it's maybe the way I was mothered, by my mother, but I feel very connected to that idea of really paying attention to yourself and what you need in order to then be the best mother you possibly can be. Because it's just somewhere along the way, society has basically put this big idea out there that martyrdom is good, that we need to be victims of our lives and be complaining about it constantly and stretched to the absolute max in order to be like, oh, you're a good mom. You're stretched so thin. You must be the best mom. It's like, when did we get there? Why did we get there? So yeah, it's so important. I just saw on Instagram the other day, there was a reel that someone shared, and it was kind of along the same talking points where, children, they mimic exactly what you're doing. So if you are stretching yourself too thin, you're angry all the time, you're just not happy and joyful in your life, that will in turn start to become the reality of your children. And so the reel was, this man was holding this baby, and she was, I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2, like she was still a very small child. And he was talking to the audience and he said, okay, I'm going to show you guys a little experiment how kids will basically become whatever is around them. And so you have to really be intentional about the things that you're saying about yourself, the things you're saying about other people, the actions that you're taking. He's like, so I want everybody in the crowd to start clapping. So everyone starts clapping, and the baby just looks around and starts clapping.
Oh, amazing.
And he was like, that's the whole exercise. This is proof that what they see, they do. So you have to be very intentional. And that's so hard, especially for women. They talk down about themselves and just, I don't know, there's this position that has been placed that we can't be happy, that we feel good, and that it's vain of some degree. And yeah, especially raising daughters, like that's a huge shift to make.
It is. And I mean, I think it stems a lot from like learning where to set our boundaries. And I mean, I did a post the other day about how some boundaries, they need to be really, really firm. And some boundaries are going to be a little bit more flexible. And some boundaries are boundaries that I'm going to be testing. And some boundaries are going to be, my kids testing my boundaries, or my friends or my colleagues. Like there's such a give and take when it comes to boundaries, but you need to know where your hard boundaries lie. And if you don't know that, and you're constantly being flexible on things that you are very firm on, like what your values and your core values and your beliefs and all of that. And if you don't have the I don't want to say backbone, but backbone
Yeah.
to know what those are and how to say no to people and how to say no to like overextending ourselves. Like I found myself this year a little overextended because I had said yes to gymnastics boards and PTA and all of these things. And I was like, I don't know why I did this to myself. And at the end of the day, it was me doing it to myself. And so
Hmm.
it's a lesson that I had to learn. And I think it's important that people have to like learn those boundaries, because if you don't, you're going to constantly feel yourself overwhelmed, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated, and under like questioning why your cup always feels so empty. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like it is doing that inner work and knowing where those hard boundaries and what you can be a little bit flexible on, but where you need
Yeah.
to hold those firm boundaries, and teaching that to kids and teaching that to clients and however that looks. But I think it's a really, really important lesson that not a lot of people learn, because society says, oh, we can do, be, and have everything. And what you're going to say no to this? Like, what kind of parent are you? And what kind of woman are you? You can't have like the clean house and the cooked meal and the career and the kids and like, and, and,
Yep.
and, and, and so, it's about learning how to say no. Right. And
Hmm.
what those boundaries are. So.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of it stems from really starting to trust your own decision making in the way of, okay, I'm going to make this choice and I'm going to set this boundary because that's what feels right to me, not because of how somebody else will react to my decision making. Unfortunately, that's really flip flopped for most people. And that's really what is perceived as correct. And just in general is, well, if you're going to make a decision, how's that going to affect somebody else and make them feel you need to change your decision making? And it's like, well, we really need to trust our own decisions, that what we're going to decide is right for us in that moment. And of course, we're not harming anybody along the way, but if it hurts somebody's feelings, maybe that has more to do with them than with you. So really understanding that if you have guilt around a decision, around setting a boundary, why? Like really ask yourself, why? Is it because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings? Or is it because you truly, don't have the time for it, or whatever the case may be? So I think getting really clear on, you know, that decision making is super important.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I
And then,
wanted to transition to some of the entrepreneurship, because you are a mother and you are very busy, but you're also growing this business. So do you have any tips for women that are just starting out and they're kind of running through those roadblocks and maybe some of those fears?
yeah, I would say my number one tip is to just do it scared. The amount of times over the last 3 years that I held myself back because I just was scared. At the end of the day, I was scared I was afraid of failure. I was afraid it wouldn't work out. The lessons that I learned and the things that didn't work out taught me the success in the next step.
Hmm.
So I would say just fail forward and do it scared and hire a coach right away.
Yeah.
Because the amount of time that having a coach and a mentor has saved me over the last 3 years, like I wouldn't even be on this podcast if I hadn't hired a coach, kind of thing. Like it's the lessons that they're able to teach us from their failures allow us to expedite the process. So those would be my three biggest tips.
Oh, and those are gold. Those are fantastic, because I'm with you. Like, I wouldn't even have this podcast if I had not hired a coach, if I had not stepped into some level of fear and tried something new. But I had a pull to do it. And so I went for it. And yeah, it was scary. Yeah, it cost money. Yeah, it was something new. But oh my gosh, I would not do it differently. Like, the amount of growth personally and professionally that has come from making scary choices, yeah, it's just so fantastic to look back like 3 years ago at the version of me. That version of me had no desires to have a podcast, had no desires to have their own business, be helping other women grow their businesses. It's just so cool what you can discover about yourself when you allow those moments of, stepping through the fear, but see it as like, okay, what's my next opportunity to learn something? I might
Absolutely.
make a mistake.
We all do. And that's just part of being human.
Yeah.
And I want to say, like, there you pointed out two things. So fear and excitement are actually on the same level. And so when you can kind of just shift your perspective, shift your prerogative, look at it as more of an exciting thing rather than like, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? But what if it does?
Mm-hmm.
And the cost, any type of business, is going to have some sort of investment and cost up front. And so you have to be prepared to invest in yourself. And within reason, for sure. But honestly, the amount of money that I have invested in personal development over the last 3 years supersedes everything I had done in the 35 years prior to that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's about making a choice to invest in yourself so that you can see what's on the other side. Because when you get that entrepreneurial spirit and you start to see the checks and everything kind of snowball forward, that what's on the other side is just phenomenal. But you
Yeah.
have to take that first step.
Oh, absolutely. And I actually just shared some content recently that was kind of along the same lines where, you know, we always have these moments of like, that's too risky. You know, if it's okay, I'm not going to buy this coaching program. That's too risky. I'm not going to launch that podcast. It's too risky. And a lot of us, kind of the reason we find these risky choices to be so scary is because we think that one choice is going to make or break us, when that is not true. Like, there's a level of choices that you make that create the outcome. And along the way, like if you look back at history of successful people, there is plenty of proof of quote unquote failure and mistakes that happened before they got to this point where now they're renowned as, you know, successful for whatever it is they're successful for. So yeah, I think really removing that stigma of I have to make the right choice, and instead of thinking of it, and instead think of it as I have infinite possibilities to create the life that I want. And along the way, some things are going to present themselves that aren't going to align with me, but you're never going to know unless you try.
Go through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I don't even like, would we even have electricity if we
Yeah.
like stopped at failure? Like, oh, that didn't work. Oh, well, like, you
Yeah.
know, 100%. You just got to keep going and continually making those choices because, like you said, it's a series of decisions, a series of choices that you make that lead you, you know, down the path. It's not just like a destination. A lot of people, I think, get hung up on the like, oh, I'm going to be happy if and when I get this, or oh, I'm going to be happy when this happens, or oh, I'm going to be successful at this level or this income. And it's not necessarily just like you get to that level and life stops and you're like, okay, like I'm good here. Like you continually go down the path. And so those decisions and those choices keep coming up along the way, and it doesn't just stop because you've made one decision, and whether or a bad decision, right? So
yeah. Well, yeah, and that really ties back to the mindset piece of it all. Is if you are not truly happy with yourself and the little things that, you know, are about your day to day that make you up, like we're all sorts of ingredients make us up, right? So if you're not happy with every little bit of you, like making those huge achievements, getting that raise, finally getting that job, you're still not going to find happiness there, because at the root of it, you're not happy with yourself. So yeah, you really have to do the inward work. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the job is not going to, you know, make you happy. And I think that's, you know, we hear all the time, oh, well, money doesn't buy happiness. No, money buys access. But yeah, it's same goes for everything.
Right. And every day I think, I don't know, I had a real shift a couple of years ago when my aunt passed away suddenly, and I was just going to not wait for things anymore. And, you know, it's unfortunate that that situation is what kind of catapulted those decisions. But when opportunity comes a knocking, I'm one of those people that makes quick decisions with it. You know, it's either I'll have my questions and I test the waters and I make sure that I know what I'm getting into. But I'm usually in a decision within the first 24 hours of knowing what's being presented and whether it's going to align with me or not, and being able to make those quick decisions because I don't want to wait. I don't want opportunity to pass me by. And I think that that's a really big lesson for people to, you know, you have to make decisions, and you have to, like you said, you have to know what's going on with inside of you and know your happiness and all of that. And so in order to be able to make those choices and those decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
I think being able to make them quickly is a level of knowing myself that I didn't necessarily have prior to that.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, trusting your own decision making it's a game changer for just how you live your life. And I actually was on a coaching call earlier, and we were talking exactly about that with my client, and she was like, I actually always thought that I did trust myself, but the more and more that I have done this like internal work and really started to ask myself these very revealing questions, she was like, I've really started to discover that maybe I wasn't actually trusting myself. And only just now I'm starting to. And it feels a little scary, but it feels really exciting. And that's those breakthroughs are just like I'm gonna start crying.
Yeah,
It
and
feels so good.
and I can feel the tingles in my body, like knowing how that conversation went for you, and knowing how that like that transformation for her, because I think entrepreneurs tend to all go through that at one point or another along their journey, where all of a sudden there's that switch that flips and you're like, I've got this. And
Mhm.
even if it doesn't go exactly how I think it's going to go, I know where my destination is, and I'm going to enjoy this along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And you actually kind of start to seek out moments that you can have like a little bit of mistakes happen because you're seeking that knowledge that, okay, what am I going to learn next? And it's kind of exciting to possibly make a mistake because it's really going to open up a it's going to answer a question that maybe you didn't know to ask, and just sort of add to your tool belt. And yeah, it's a really cool process, and it's just so exciting to witness. And yeah, so on that note, if you could go back and change something, I mean, would you? Like, are there any lessons that you kind of had to learn the hard way?
Yeah, I don't know if I would change anything, because I definitely have enjoyed the journey and the process, and I'm really loving the path that I'm on. Um, but I would say when you are starting out, having systems in place, like having those organizational tools right from the get go. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's kind of you're piecing things together in the beginning. And so, really, when you start to find that traction of what's working for you, make sure that you take the time in your business to actually work on your business, not work in your business, but like build that plan, get those systems locked down so that as you move forward, it just goes a lot smoother.
Yeah.
That was a piece that I didn't learn early enough. And so I'm constantly trying to like go back and be like, oh yeah, but I kind of did this and now I can piece it together. But it's, yeah, I would say make sure that you take that time to work on your business, not
Hmm.
always in your business, and have that plan, that business plan in place.
Yeah, I made that mistake as well. And what I've come to discover, especially as was diving into learning more about universal laws and like the law of assumption, law of attraction, when you start acting as if you are already this super successful business owner, well, a super successful business owner that has a lot of clients is already going to have emails set up. They're already going to have, automation set in place. They're already going to have, they're going to have these things. And so, yeah, don't wait till your business needs it. Do
Yeah.
it. So you create that path
Yeah.
that's wide open. So when it starts to happen for you, you're already there. Like you're
I'll,
already ready.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Oh man, this has been so good, Sydney. Like, I just love that we've gotten to connect in our coaching program and do things like this, because connecting with other entrepreneurs and just feeding off of each other's energy, I don't know, there's something really special about that.
I love it as well. Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to connect and get to know you more and your audience. And so I appreciate you having me.
Oh, absolutely. And you guys, if you're ready to just ditch the overwhelm and kind of conquer that chaos of life that you might be feeling, head over to the show notes and get yourself inside Sydney's community. It is called the Mompreneur Collective, and she is doing really incredible things in there. And so I hope you guys can get connected with Sydney. And Sydney, thank you so much again for being here.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.
That was so much fun. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you want to get a shout out or maybe even inspire a fellow entrepreneur, go ahead and take a screenshot of yourself listening to this episode and tag us in your stories at Social Jane Media. Positive by Design is brought to you by Sarah Glenn, CEO of Social Jane Media, the branding and business coaching agency that teaches you how to discover your authentic brand, lead with value, and build the business you desire. If you're ready for more, head over to the Social Jane community. Link is in the show notes. I'll see you inside.